And what we're going to do is look at 5 myths, 5 false illusions that we have when we get married. And you might have had some of these or even all of them. And they write songs and lyrics about these myths. The first one there, love will keep us together. Who remembers this song? Come on, can't just be me. Surely.
Love will keep us together.
Kept it in
Think of me, babe, whenever.
Who thought that? Love would just keep us together. I did. I really fell for that one in a big way. But it says there in your notes that in reality, many things will actually seek to divide you. Contrasting backgrounds bring about painful adjustments for couples. Now, what is one word do you think that could describe that humongous sentence? Contrasting backgrounds bring about painful adjustments for couples. Anybody? Any takers? What could be a word? Oh, you are so good. Well done. Yeah, baggage. That is a great word to describe that sentence. And we all come into a relationship with baggage, don't we? We all come in with a figurative suitcase, if you like. It's called a past. And I love what Andy Stanley says. He's one of my all-time great favourite authors. And he says that the interesting thing about our past is that generally it doesn't stay there. Our past has a habit of showing up in our present and then ultimately affecting our future. And it happens to all of us. And I think sometimes we underestimate the power of the past. And in each of our suitcases, and Andy and I, there were a number of painful experiences when we got married. And Andy had been married before he married me. He married his childhood sweetheart when he was very young, in his early 20s. And their relationship was going well, but after a few years, Andy actually contracted a strep throat infection, which ultimately meant that he lost his kidneys to this infection, and he ended up on a kidney dialysis machine. And that is a hard lifestyle to have, living on a kidney machine. And his young wife of 4 years sat up in bed one night and said to him, I don't want to be married to a kidney patient for the rest of my life. This is not what I signed up for. And so she asked to be released from that marriage, and that was tough for Andy. That rejection was a painful experience for him. Now for me, my parents married when they were very young. They were, I think, 17 and 18, very young. And their marriage lasted for about 10 years, and when they broke up, I was then put in an Air Force children's home for a year with my brother. Then when my mother came and got us out again, she remarried, and that marriage lasted for a few years until I was 13, and then my stepfather left home due to an affair, and my mother came out to New Zealand, and I stayed living with guardians in England, and I was with them for 3 years, from 14 to 17. And then due to an affair, that marriage also broke up. And I went to live with another set of guardians in my last year of schooling before I went to university. But those failed relationships had a huge impact on me. I didn't know it at the time, but they had a huge impact on me and how I would view marriage. And then, of course, Andy and I got married. And you've probably all experienced this yourself. You get married and everything is wonderful for a while. And then all of a sudden, it isn't. And we experienced quite a few emotional outbursts and eruptions and not even sure of where they came from and not sure even how to handle them. And Andy would chase me around the house almost with his boxing gloves on, and he was wanting to
fight,
duke it out and fight it out and work it out. Whereas for me, I was wanting to retreat to the bathroom and lock the door and sweep it all under the carpet and pretend that everything was okay. And it wasn't until about 2 or 3 years into our marriage that we realized that it was our baggage from our past that was showing up in our present. And for both of us, it was the same issue. It was in the whole area of insecurity, about the commitment of our relationship. We each had a different response, but it was the same issue. And so think for a moment yourselves, think about your backgrounds, consider where you've come from, and ask yourself, what have I brought into my marriage? Especially you younger ones who have not been married for long. Ask yourself, what have I brought into my marriage? What am I dealing with? What is in your suitcase from your past that maybe will cause you to do some painful adjusting as you live together for these next few years? Or even for those of you who've been married together for a while, is there anything from your past that is continuing to wreak havoc in your marriage? Good questions to ask yourself. And for me, when I answered that question, I would write down lack of security due to my parents' divorce. That was a big issue. So what would you write down? Just take a moment now, think about that, and just jot something down that it could be for you. We'll give you a moment to do that.